Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Fuel for Success. This is episode 260. It's good to see everybody on this beautiful Wednesday. And on this Wednesday, we're going to be talking about life coaching, motivation type topics, how you can be successful in the various areas of your life that affect everything, your relationships, your personal energy and growth. And I'm excited about seeing everyone here this morning. Welcome. And of course, welcome to my good friend, the one and only Mr. Matt Maddox. How are you this morning,
Man,
sir?
I'm doing good, Mike, and good to be with you today. This is one of our favorite days because today, and I quote my friend Mike Hopkins, just like every Wednesday, we deal with the real issues of family and relationships. We're not afraid to go personal. We're not afraid to go not controversial, not to be controversial, but we're willing to talk about what nobody likes to talk about. And when people ask us questions, we answer with full transparency. And that's just kind of how we run our show. And so if you have any questions about family, relationships, parenting, marriage, dating, divorce, engagement, sibling rivalry, how to deal with your in-laws, anything that has to do, how to deal with an annoying employee, how to deal with a dictator boss. I mean, anything that has to do with relationships, type them in our chat box. Mike and I push our live chat questions usually to the top. We do get a lot that come in, though, through email and text, because some people watch our show every day. They're not able to be live. Of course, we love our live audience. We're grateful for them. And, Mike, this is something that we feel very passionate about because we feel like on Wednesdays we help people. And, relationships is the issue. You know what Henry Ford said? Henry Ford said this: I will pay more for someone that has the ability to get along with people than anything else. Like, the value of being the kind of person that just gets along with others is extremely valuable. But Mike, that sometimes can be a little challenging to find, especially because we live in a broken world where a lot of people have never gone through emotional wholeness or have emotional stability and maturity. And unfortunately, a lot of people are in unhealthy relationships. And that goes for like friendships, in-laws, grandparents. Your relationship with your mom can be unhealthy. Your relationship with your dad can be unhealthy. Your relationship with your spouse, you're with your kids, with your best friends. So there we go.
Good point. And I want to remind everybody, if you want to ask live, just as Matt said, click on the chat box, ask there. If you're watching later or listening on the podcast, by all means, text us at 727-341-5599 or send your questions in. We'll get to them as quickly as we can on a future episode. Or you can also email them to mike@mattmaddox.com. I'm studying to be one of those voiceover guys at the end of the drug commercials. Interactions may include dizziness, dry mouth, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So,
you're doing a lot better. I think it's the voice warm-ups that's really taking you to the next level.
Yeah. I got a snap from Matt on Monday morning when he's driving down to it was Miami, was it? To speak at a church, and he's like, "I'm doing my voice warm-ups, me mo my mo me," and cracked me up. So
I ended up losing my voice anyway.
It was funny. Yeah, it didn't. Well, could have been worse, right? So let me start out with this question, and I was going somewhere. Oh, you know what? I just wanted to say one thing. You said that Henry Ford said he'd pay more for people to get along. The Bible says in Matthew 5:9, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God." And so there is value in making peace and keeping peace. And wisdom, and especially biblical wisdom, is all about dealing with people and relationships. It's one of the most important things in life.
Good words right there, Rev.
Let me start out with this question, and this is sort of an indirect question from one of our viewers. How do you deal with, and you mentioned getting along with your family, your in-laws, your mom, your dad, that sort of thing. What if you've got a family member that that is angry with, that's just angry all the time, and outbursts and bursts of anger. And some people just have like anger issues. You know what I'm saying? And they deal with life from an angry standpoint. And maybe vent on you, once or twice a month, that sort of thing. And of course, we've talked about boundaries in the past, but how do you deal with that family member?
My answer would be this. My answer would be to, in the moment is not the time to deal with it. Because, obviously there's a proverb that says a soft answer turns away wrath. But however, when you're not in that moment of them like having one of their anger episodes, I would do a sit down, undivided attention, very direct conversation of, hey, listen, what I want to share with you is a concern. I am not attacking you at all. I'm saying this out of love. I'm telling you what I would do. I would say, you about 2 to 3 times a month you have some anger explosions, and you know this. You know that you have a temper and you're angry, and I want to help. However, I do suggest that you either let's read a book about it, or you get go to therapy, or get a life coach, or somebody that can help you, because this behavior is not tolerated. Obviously, it would depend on, is this the kid? Is this your husband? Is it your wife? Is it is it your brother?
Yeah.
Because, Mike, boundaries are where it's at. And I literally believe in establishing boundaries in all relationships. Sometimes you got to look in the eye and say, this is not tolerated. So if we've got to get you help, we'll do it. We're taking massive action here, because these little anger bursts I'm not cool with it anymore. I'm not cool with you throwing things. I mean, Mike, this is a real issue. I mean, believe me, I've been life coaching for years. I've had to deal with people that had kids and spouses. I mean, I'm talking like major tempers, anger, throwing things, abuse, violence, leaving, just sudden, just explosions of emotions. Now, I can give my theory of why I believe people are angry. I believe, and I do believe, Mike, that sometimes it can be fixed through just someone making up their mind and really like changing their thoughts. And it can be fixed by getting healthy. It can be fixed by getting closer to God. But there are times you do need therapy. I believe in therapy. I want to go on record saying I wholeheartedly believe in therapy. And I believe in life coaching for this very reason. Sometimes life coaching is for this reason, to say, look, I've got to come up with some strategies to overcome temper tantrums or anger bursts. Look, I'm going to give you the top 5 reasons why I believe people struggle with anger. Number 1 reason I believe is because people that usually have a problem with anger hate themselves. They have deep insecurity, deep self-esteem issues, deep emotional pain would be the second thing. Not only do they hate themselves, but there's deep pain that goes back to childhood, that goes back to situations that they've never healed from. I believe the third reason why people have anger is because of guilt. Mike, when people have guilt in their soul, we all have dark secrets and skeletons and things we feel guilty about. Usually guilt can bring, and I'll tell you this, I've done a lot of life coaching in times past with men and women who had anger problems because of sexual issues, whether it be pornography, whether it be, sexual rape, molestation. I mean, this is a real issue, Mike.
Right.
The fourth reason why I believe people have anger issues is because they're just flat out, and again, Mike, I don't believe in victim thinking. I do believe in taking 100% responsibility for our life. Some people have anger issues because they have never, maybe they were spoiled as a kid. Maybe they were never disciplined. Sometimes they're used to getting their way, and whenever they don't, they act out in rage. I've seen this. I've seen this in people that whenever they don't get their way, they like use anger as a way. Anger is what they use to get their way. In that case, if I was life coaching somebody and I sensed that, I would shoot them right between the eyes and tell them, look, you're 100% the cause of your anger. You've got to get over this pouting, having a fit, throwing things, and because I'll ask the tough questions. Okay, well, tell me what causes the anger burst. Usually, Mike, you'll find out it's usually whenever they don't get their way, when life doesn't. Some of this is centered because of a lack of gratitude, a lack of prayer, a lack of exercise, a lack of happiness within themselves. And then I think, Mike, the fifth cause of anger, some of it's a spiritual issue. It is an absence of God's presence in their life, and could be sin, could be, like I said, guilt. So if you take all that I just said, Mike, and you evaluate the person you're trying to help, family member, and you try to, I'm a big believer in identifying the root. I don't like labeling stuff. I like dealing with the heart of the matter, the cause, because I believe you can deal with the cause, you can fix stuff. So that would be my take on it. Just again, we could talk the whole show about this, but that's definitely at least gets it started.
True. I like what you said about disliking labels, and I completely agree. I think a lot of times, just for simplicity's sake, we like to try to put a handle on something and keep it like a simple label, like they're just an angry person or whatever. And a lot of times we lose the nuances of the details. And unfortunately, the reality is the details truly are important. And the details of why they're and the nuances of how everyone is, you can't lump everybody together and say, oh, they're like this. And I agree 100% that labels are dangerous because it oversimplifies situations. Let me just ask one quick follow-up question on that, because like we said right at the beginning about, the best thing to do is sort of find a time, not in the moment of anger, to sort of take them aside. And you talked about, a child, a spouse, those sort of things. Let me just make it like the worst possible case, and see what you would do in this situation if it was a parent. Like, for example, if it was my father that had anger issues and I felt like I needed to address it with him, how would I approach him with that? How would I open the topic? I mean, what would your advice be?
Mike, the last thing you want to do with an angry person is put them on the defensive. So you obviously got to be pretty smooth with this, and you've obviously got to do what the Bible says: harmless, wise as a serpent, harmless as a dove. And sometimes in these situations, when you're confronting somebody about their anger issues, it can't go to confrontation. Your tone of voice has got to be low. It can't be a personal attack. It cannot be you can be firm. You can establish the boundary, but and sometimes, Mike, truth is the only way. Listen, I'm not, I heard a quote one time that says, I'm responsible to you, I'm not responsible for you. So I want to give you the message and tell you, Dad, that the reason why I'm not coming over anymore is because I'm not going to allow my son to see your anger outburst. It's not a safe environment, emotionally, mentally, whatever. Now, Dad, I want to help you. First thing I want to ask you, you can even come out and ask, hey, I want to ask you a question. You can come out and say, straight up, 100% brutal honesty. Do you feel you have an anger problem? And a lot of times that might cause them to open up and say, yes, I do. And then you can say, well, I kind of want to address that, because I'm not cool with this anymore. And I want to see you get some help. Mike, sometimes the only way is to just lay it out there, put it out there. And, again, I mean, if it's someone you're scared, like they're abusive with their anger, then, obviously do it over the phone. If not, do it in person. Sometimes you might need a third party. The situation could be like, I've had to
Yeah,
deal with people
yeah,
that had abusive spouses, man. You know what I mean? I mean, I really have. I'm talking like straight up like violence, domestic violence. So you want to talk about like dealing with some hostile situations. And sometimes, Mike, being just very truthful and firm, and very like, don't let them like start the blame game, but take it back to like, hey, I want to ask you, do you want help from this? Yes or no? Do you recognize this is pushing your family away? Your family doesn't even want. Are you aware that none of your kids want to come over? Are you aware of this? Like questions, Mike, to get them thinking.
yeah.
Are you aware that
Ask questions. I like that.
literally nobody wants to be around when you act this way? That would be my style. Well, what about you, Mike?
That's good.
What's your thought on this?
Well, first of all, it's completely hypothetical because my dad is actually probably the least angry person you'll ever meet. But I do know people that, and I've actually been, when I'm thinking about this, the scripture keeps coming to mind. Of course, honor thy father and mother, and it's really a biblical commandment to honor your father and mother, to honor your parents. And you come to a difficult place, and I've talked to people about this that have asked me, if their parents aren't. I know people who are more of an adult than their parents.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And they're sort of the mature one in the relationship, and that's a very difficult place to be when you're trying to follow, especially follow a Christian lifestyle that says, honor your father and mother. And how do you honor someone that is acting out in a way that's childish or immature, or if those sort of things. And I think that it is important to maintain honor for your father and mother, even in that situation, and especially in that situation when you have to have that conversation. And I look at the example of the way that David treated Saul in a situation where Saul was basically trying to kill him, but David wouldn't act against Saul, and that is honor. It may be difficult to respect their decisions. It may be difficult to respect the things that they do, but you still have to have honor for who they are, basically for their position.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's kind of my take.
In some cases, I'll give you an example. I think when my son was maybe 8, and Mike, I am very in tune, and I have strong intuition. My intuition is it's like guru status. I mean, I can read people like that, and fluff doesn't get past me. My son was like 8. He went through a spurt where he had a little bit of a temper, which, he's been a great kid. I've been blessed. But he went through a little bit of a temper situation, and I thought maybe he was just maybe hurting over, maybe going back and forth from his mom's to my place.
Right.
And I'm very in tune to that kind of stuff, and I know how to get to the heart of the matter. To be straight up honest, man, it literally at that time of his life was an issue of a lack of gratitude. So like for a month straight, every night, I had him watching videos about kids in poverty, literally for a month straight every night. It changed his life. Like from those moments forward, never had one flare, not one. Because I told him, I said, you know what? Your real issue is you are so blessed that you're like, listen, the Bible says train up a child. Like you got to teach them young. Like to me, my gratitude, people are missing the power of gratitude and what it can do in your life. I'm not kidding. The power of perspective, the power of like, hey,
yeah.
We have so much to be thankful for. And it changed his life. It did. To this day, I mean, he's now 13. So in 5 years now, one single flare up of, anger, because he fixed it, because the real issue was, just like any kid, he was just naturally, I don't want to use the word spoiled, but he was just not acting in gratitude. So I taught him, look, and sometimes my people, Mike, sometimes people need to go through a boot camp type scenario where when you're too good to somebody, they need to have a little like wake up call, so to speak. Not punishment, but just it's perspective and it's gratitude, man. And sometimes in those situations, anyways, I think we got more questions coming in, Mike. Do we?
Yeah, I want to get to this one from Stacy. It's a great question. Actually, it's very close to one of the questions we had come in, so we'll just address this. I actually, as you were talking, gratitude is almost the opposite of entitlement.
So is.
Let me grab Stacy's question here. So she's saying, how do you help someone who is in a very unhealthy relationship that is actually over and they're stuck in the bargaining stage of grief? So as I understand this, the relationship is basically over, but they're still hanging on to it, and it's unhealthy. How do you help that person?
I mean, okay, if I'm sitting down and someone's asking me right now and they say, "Hey, what do I do?" I would say this. I would say, well, number one, you've got to get clear in your mind. Your mind isn't clear. You've got to, and Mike, sometimes the only way to clarity is journaling and journaling and journaling and making a list and making a list and making a list. I know that sounds like elementary, but it's true. Meaning, like, sometimes you got to say, okay, this relationship is over because bam, 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 bam. When you start looking at those bullet points over and over again, this relationship is over because he lied, he cheated, he's dishonest, he's abusive, he's rude, he doesn't have a job, sucker doesn't pay his bills, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever the list is, the more you write it out, Stacy, the more you focus on the why, that part. This relationship is unhealthy because. And because of course there's going to be, if there's ties because of emotions, love, romance, sex, whatever, right? Obviously relationships ending is tough. There's no easy way around it. And I will say this on a practical side, Stacy, every single person that's thinking about ending a relationship or ending a relationship absolutely must read the book Necessary Endings. By far the most, right now, if you interview me on relationships, top 2 books I've ever read. Besides His Needs, Her Needs, Necessary Endings. Mike, we hang on to way too many relationships we're supposed to let go of. And because when a relationship becomes unhealthy for you and it drags you down, kills your energy, kills your purpose, kills your passion, so if you're stuck, I think the only way out is just a hardcore continual look at the list of literally, like right at the top piece of paper, this relationship is over because this relationship is bad for me because. And then also read the book Necessary Endings. I've probably read it like 4 times. It's tough. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's gonna hit you hard. But it's a tough read because it's the reality of, hey, necessary endings. Sometimes, even if a relationship is to be saved down the road, sometimes it happens, whether it be a friend, even something with your brother, whatever. Sometimes you got to end it to make sure you bring it back to health or what, that's a whole other long story. Mike, was she asking a follow-up question? I can't tell.
So basically the situation is it's an unhealthy relationship and the individual is stuck in the bargaining stage thinking that if I do this or if I do this, it'll get better. But apparently the relationship is unhealthy at the core.
Yeah. Whoever it is, Stacy, tell her I said this, okay? Tell her I said that you can go through all those fantasy conversations if you want. Because most people will and most people do, because we all look back and think, oh, if I would have done this, if I would have said this, if I wouldn't have done this, if I would have been more encouraging and more supportive. At the end of the day, a healthy relationship is a healthy relationship. Is there going to be conflict? Yes, but that's healthy. Is there going to be struggle? Sure. But a healthy relationship, again, let's just put it out there right now. The top 5 warning flags of an unhealthy relationship. Deception. Done. Done. lying, cheating, any type of abuse. Now listen, it doesn't always have to be physical abuse. There's verbal abuse, there's manipulation, there's emotional abuse, there's control, there's possessiveness, there's jealousy. I mean, all of those things in a relationship are unhealthy. Codependency, when this person, you know how it happens all the time. If you leave me, I'll kill myself. You leave me, my whole life will fall apart. Are you kidding me? Like, that is the epitome. Like, that is like God putting it on a billboard. Run, run, run. If someone starts talking like that, that is to the extreme of unhealth. So we do this. We always say, well, it'll get better if I do this. No. I mean, now if we're talking a marriage, I mean, that's a whole nother story. But if you're talking dating, Mike, I'm strict in the dating stage because I think that's the key to saving yourself from unhappy marriages. You know what I'm saying? So, and saving yourself from destruction. I mean, I could tell you so many stories, man. Literally right now I could roll out 20 stories, no joke, of just disasters in marriages that were totally obvious in dating, that looking back they're like, how did I not see this? I totally saw this coming. But we don't, Mike, because we weren't taught to be strong, we weren't taught to trust God, we weren't taught to love ourselves. That, like, our loving ourselves level is, I deserve somebody, ladies, that's going to treat me like a queen, right? Gentlemen, you deserve a lady who's faithful, loyal, supportive, treat you like a king. Like, so us going back and forth and trying to, if I do this better,
Yeah.
Cut it, my friends. Cut it.
Yeah, I like what Tommy's saying. People put up with a lot when dating, don't realize it'll get worse in the marriage, because I believe that it's true. Marriage amplifies whatever problems were there initially because of the nature of it. And unfortunately, I think that we have a culture in a lot of ways that says, oh, well, I'm going to date this person, I have some issues, but then I'll fix that later. And it even comes out in our colloquialisms and our little humorous sayings, like, have you ever heard a woman say, well, I got him trained? That drives me up a wall. Are you kidding me? Your wife is saying, a woman is saying about her husband, well, I got him trained. Like, how disrespectful can you get? If you're a lady and you ever say that about your husband, I'm sorry, but you're out of line. That's ridiculous thought. You can't think that way.
Mike, I'm assuming you have passion about
Sorry, I didn't go off on you. I'm like, we just say all this stuff in the name of being funny, and it's like, it's so damaging, and we cause so much injury under the guise of being humorous that sometimes we really need to just take a step back and say, okay, what are you actually saying? So I mean, if a woman says that means, well, I married him because he was substandard, and I'm responsible for all of his success, and I'm the one who fixed him. It's like, really, you're going to say that about your husband to someone else?
Yeah, Mike.
It's like the epitome of disrespect.
I literally believe husbands and wives should not go there should be very protective of sarcasm about in front of other people, especially. That you're right. That is the epitome of disrespect. When women, I've seen them do it. I've literally seen them do it. Like,
Happens all the time.
Yeah, he's the man of the house, but he knows. I'm the one that wears. I literally have seen women say, I'm the one that really wears the pants in this family. And they think they're being funny, but I'm saying to myself, I feel really sorry for him. That's what I'm saying to myself in that moment, that she thinks she's being funny. I'm having a conversation up here, and I'm saying, I feel sorry for him. I'm glad. Thank you, Jesus. I'm going home and I'm getting on my knees and I'm saying, thank you, God, that I don't have to be married to her or him. I've seen other guys do things to their wives. I'm like, man, I'm glad that ain't my daughter. I'd kill him. Glad that ain't my sister. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, in the name of fairness, I've seen guys say ridiculous things about their wives too, like, yeah, I keep her on a short leash, or you know, manipulating through money and that sort of thing. And it's like, seriously? I
Yeah,
mean, you're supposed to be married.
yeah,
This is like a partnership. Come on.
yeah. It really is. And then
Um,
degrading your lady. Degrading her in front of your guy friends. Look, man, I've seen guys like let their other guy friends talk vulgar right in front of their lady. I'm like, man, staying good. Even if you think
hey,
she's cool with it, at the end of the day, Mike, every lady deep down inside is still a lady. And
yeah,
every guy deep down inside is still a guy. Men, Mike, you're right. There's a lot of, because of the feminist movement, hate to go here, but we have to. Some of you ladies, truly, I say this respectfully, you literally, especially you American ladies, I hate to call you out. Some of you literally don't know how to treat men. And I attribute a lot of it to the feminist movement that I'm 100% against. I'm 100% for women's rights. I'm 100% for women, running for president, being CEOs of companies. Hey, all
right,
about it. But I'm
absolutely.
not for the feminist spirit of our society that women act as men. You know what I mean? That they want, equal rights, cool, but still be a lady. Don't be like this loud, abrasive, like,
Well,
I got
don't
fired
rebel
up
against
now.
your gender.
Yeah.
That's I'm like, why would you rebel against who you are? I mean, embrace who you are. That's really the nature of it. Hey, while I'm on a rant, by the way, I
Mike, give us
hate the
all your
saying.
rants. Give us all your rants. I feel you need it. Now that you're
I, I
45,
just
you have the right to rant.
I'm a 45-year-old grandpa. I'm like, you kids get off my grass. That's me.
You're
All
like the
right.
one that when the
You
neighbor
know,
kids hit the ball in your yard, you're like, I'm keeping this.
yeah.
Time you hit
You
another ball
kids
in my yard.
stay off my grass. Keep your ball in the park. If I had sweatpants on, I'd pull them up to here, and then I'd do that. Hey,
It's funny, actually. All right, go give us your rant, Mike. Give us your top three
my
rants.
rant is this. No, I got one, but you know what? You know what drives me nuts, and I'm probably going to tick some people off.
Yeah.
But when when I hear people say, "When mom ain't happy, ain't nobody happy," it just like lights a fire in me. I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" That's the most ridiculous thing.
That
And that's
really is.
basically saying, you know what? The man's not in charge of the house. Okay, so obviously you're not Christian. You don't understand the Bible, and you don't understand authority. So what are you really saying? It drives me nuts. I hate it. So don't ever say that around me. I'll light you up.
Today's show is going to be titled Mike's Rants. Mike's Rants and the Feminist Movement. Any questions
Get
from
off
our
my
live
grass.
viewers? We got about 5 more minutes. We go a little bit longer on our relationship show because there's so much more to cover. Although we'll be back next Wednesday. Mike, any other questions or real quick for our last 5 minutes? I hope everybody understands where Mike and I are coming from. Basically, what we're saying is we believe men should be gentlemen and ladies should be ladies. You know what makes me mad? Can I rant? Can I rant?
Yeah,
Is when you
hit
go to
it.
open a door at the mall for a lady and you're holding it. She's like 20 feet away and you're holding it for her. She looks right at you and walks to the other door that's closed and opens it and walks in it. I'm like,
Yeah.
are you kidding? Really? That's my rant of the day.
Tommy's asking about argumentative people.
Argue with them, Tommy. Win. Debate. No,
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I don't like
That
arguing.
actually, you know what?
Go ahead, Mike.
One of my favorite proverbs says, "Answer not a fool, lest thou be like him." And the very next one says, "Answer a fool, lest he be wise in his own. I forget the word, foolishness or something." So two proverbs in a row says, "Answer a fool," and the next one says, "Don't answer a fool." So
Well, one you
what do you do?
don't.
Do you argue or you don't argue? Huh?
Just depends on what day it is, I guess. Depends on what
Thank
type
God
of
for the
people you're
Holy Ghost
dealing
to
with.
lead you.
I think
Yeah.
he was saying if you're dealing with a fool that says there's no God, then you answer him the heck out of him. But if you're dealing with a fool that's just talking a bunch of like jibber jabber craziness, you're like, I ain't got time for that. Hey, Tommy, dealing with argumentative people, the only way to deal with it is not argue. You totally disarm them. Like literally say, I'm not arguing. You win. You win. You win. You're right. You're right. You win. Depends on what the issue is. Depends on who it is. If you're talking about a wife that's argumentative or a husband, that's a whole other story, my friend. It's 4 talk shows.
Yeah. I learned this from you years ago is one of the best things that you can say is that you respect someone's opinion about something. It's so disarming, and it's so like drops the argumentative level or the tension level if someone wants to argue and you say, you know what, I totally respect what you're saying.
Yeah.
I can see that. And genuinely try to understand their perspective.
That really does.
At that point, then you can be productive.
That's good stuff. It's good stuff because it disarms them. When you, instead of trying, like, I love what Pacey said. She's right. This ties into what you were just saying. Sometimes winning the battle is not worth losing the war. Literally, you can win an argument sometimes and look at it and be like, that's not even worth it. You know what I'm saying? You're like, all that energy, all that time, 4 hours on the phone, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, you're right. And then you're like, oh, man, it wasn't even worth it. There's just sometimes it's not worth it.
Nobody ever wins an argument. Sometimes you can impose your will, but you can't ever win an argument.
Good. Good stuff, Mike.
That's my position.
Final question of the day. Let's see if we can nail it out. Whatever you choose, I'll answer.
Give me 3 tips to help get you to help open up people who don't like to open up. Let me put it that way.
3 tips is
3.
Number 1, people that don't like to open up, ask questions. And number 2, when they do open up a little, listen and ask another question that keeps them. It's kind of like fishing,
Listen.
Don't just like pull the hook really fast. Sometimes you gotta, right, Mike? Come on. Am I doing good on the fishing analogy here, kid?
It's good. It's good. You gotta let them take it a little bit. I got you. It's good. And I want to go fishing.
I love Alan Pacey, man. I tell you what, they got some funny conversations going on over here. For you that are on listening to our podcast right now, you have to meet Pacey. And Al, I'd say you have to meet, although I don't believe he even exists. You still got to meet him. He's awesome. Al, we're still waiting on a picture. Watch Al be like an actor. Watch him be like Will Smith. It's probably Will Smith. It literally is probably Will Smith hanging out with us.
Good to have you on the show, Will.
Will, we're glad you're here. You're one of my favorite actors. I've watched all your YouTube clips. Very motivational, by the way. Shout out to you. Good job raising your son, too. Number 3, Mike, is if they try to get them to open up by making them feel safe to open up. Sometimes you got to express, look, it depends on what it is. I mean, if it's a kid, if it's your wife, if it's someone that you don't know. I mean, I don't know, Mike. You got to express that, hey, I want you to know whatever you tell me, I'm not going to judge you. I'm not going to debate it. I'm not going to, put you down for it. I'm not going to disagree with it. I want to know your opinion about something. And then you just, Mike, I'm good at getting people to open up because I know how to ask the right questions. And sometimes, though, in doing so, I've blown it.
You've blown it?
Blown it by asking, the stupid question.
Sure. Well, that's part of the learning process.
Part of mastery.
I think, yeah, and not fearing failure is important to self-confidence and attempting to do it.
As we close the show, Mike, can I get one last rant out of you? I really enjoyed the rant. Can I get one more?
I don't really have anything right now.
Right now, one more rant.
All right. So you know what drives me crazy, and this is in the church, okay? When people talk about their wife as their helpmeet, and they use the word meet like a noun, it's not a noun. They're not a helpmeet, okay? The word means it's a helper who's set aside for you. It's not a helpmeet. Don't use that term as a noun. Stop doing that. It's wrong.
What?
Grammatically wrong.
Say helpmate? Is that what it is properly?
No, no.
Help.
It's a helper. In the King James, it says, "Where's my Bible? It's over there. I can't get to it because I'm tethered." But the Bible says that God created for Adam a help, and it says a help meet for him, which means that it was a helper who was set aside or created specifically for him, or for the purpose of helping him. Right? It's not a help meet as a noun. It's not a noun. It's meet, meet, which is like an adjective.
Well, you know what? In my travels, that's gonna be my opening statement when I speak at churches. I want all the men to stand. Next time you call your wife a helpmeet, you're out of this church. Are we understood? No, Mike, I'm with you.
But
It's a pet peeve of yours, is what you're saying.
yeah, it's a pet peeve of mine. It's incorrect usage. It's hermeneutically wrong, and it's become a part of our vocabulary incorrectly. So, if somebody has evidence to the contrary, by all means, send it to me, and I will respect your opinion.
What about PDA, man? Public display of affection.
I'm all about it.
Thanks, Pacey. Appreciate that. She says I'm easy to communicate with.
Speaking of PDA, Matt, my daughter doesn't like to get in an elevator with my wife and I because we always kiss in the elevator.
You and your wife are like porn stars in public, man. You know what I'm saying?
What?
I love you, man. Figured I'd sit you on a rant, Mike. By the way, cut the last minute.
41 minutes.
You have the ability to do that. Cut it.
41.
Hey, Mike and I are here every single Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. Listen, you got to know Mike and I, okay? Mike and I will be at hotel rooms walking down the hall at 1 a.m. and I will beat on someone's door and take off. That's just my personality. You know, like the person that Mike likes the least, I know who he is. When we're at Starbucks and they say, "What's your name?" I tell that person's name and they write it on Mike's coffee cup. So I'm always messing with him. So sometimes I like, because I know Mike's very, Mike's proper. So I like to shock him on the show sometimes just because it's fun to me. But anyway.
Not to go all meta on the show. Do you realize that like 2 weeks ago we talked about making the show 20 minutes and here we are at 42 minutes?
I hold you responsible because once you got the ranting.
You know what? Since I'm going to edit the end of the show anyways, you know what Matt did to me one time? I'm in a bathroom, okay? We're like, we had juiced, okay? So we were in the bathroom. He had to use the stand-up facilities and I had to use the other facilities, right? And I'm in the stall with the door closed. And we're like, it's not a very busy place. He walks out and shuts the light off. And I'm like, and they're like, Matt!
And
seriously.
I love my man to finish it.
He never came back.
I like Mike being in the bathroom sometimes when it's packed out and just start like having full-blown conversations with myself loud. I'm not even kidding. I'll like stare at the wall. I'll be like, "Why are you looking at me like that?" All the men just like stand there and you can just tell everybody like gets nervous. You gotta have fun in life, that's all there is to it.
Or you'll be on the other side of a bathroom with like 30 guys in it and he's just like yelling a conversation at me. He's like, "Hey, so what do you think we ought to do about that show?" And all the guys are like, "Who's he? What is he?" I'm like, "Well, can we talk about it outside?" Seriously. Because I'm like, this.
You should see Mike. He gets tense and he just like don't know what to say. Yeah, we have fun. Let's just say that. All right. Well, Mike,
let's end the show.
We love you, man. You and Carol. Enjoy your day, my friend. And we'll definitely. No, don't edit our show. We don't edit our shows. That's not us. We don't edit our shows. We will be back tomorrow morning at 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. And tomorrow, Mike, we'll be talking about business and entrepreneurship and maybe how not to do it. How's that sound? If you like our shows,
Speak to that.
tell your family and friends about them. If we can help people, put it out on your Facebook. It's been a great joy to be with you guys today. Mike, good being with you. And I'll see y'all tomorrow morning at 9:30 EST.
Have a great Wednesday, everyone. God bless.